wasn't banging the table, even though you said I was banging the table. No one heard anything.
They didn't, but I don't know. Sometimes it picked it up and sometimes it doesn't. It's weird. Maybe it's if this thing moves at all, like if you're hitting too close to that.
Oh, yeah, too close to the stand.
But if you're over here, maybe it's fine. I don't know. I'm just trying to prevent any errors from coming up.
I think you have flashbacks from our early days whenever we had that table.
When you slightly shifted and it was like...
Exactly. Yeah. The slightest bump.
Oh, those were rough days.
We do that.
Anytime I tried to edit it, I'm like, well, I did my best. I would literally go through and I'd decrease the volume at that section and try to mess with the levels.
So many people would be like, yeah, it's still a little loud at times. Seems like your sound is all over the place. Okay, well, we have a $30 mic that we have set on top of a table. On top of
curtains that my cats ripped off.
Exactly. For soundproofing. So
in a massive open room with one microphone sitting on a couch leaning in.
The two of us tried to do it. Yeah.
And if you slightly leaned back, you were not heard. Yep. You had to literally just be leaned.
You just hear someone in the background like, hey, anyways. Yeah. Good stuff.
But here we are.
And one day we'll be in an even more advanced studio and we'll have an entire podcast network.
Want to be in our podcast network? Too bad.
You're doing some great recruitment there, Paul. Go fuck yourself.
The podcast network is exclusively a network of Evan and I's podcasts because...
It's only us talking, hearing the sound of our own voices.
We'll maybe let Samantha have one.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
We should, since everybody loves Samantha's voice.
Samantha's going to be like the Delilah.
Exactly. She is going to be the Delilah of the podcast network. Going to come in here in the evenings and put on her show.
No, but I think a podcast network isn't out of the question in the future.
Yeah.
Right now, we're both definitely too busy.
Oh, yeah. I got a lot of ideas for podcasts. Although I can't officially say that true crime is off the table for me.
See, I would like to do it, but I don't do research. So
yeah, see, that's
I would need.
I don't think I could.
I would need somebody to be like, "Here, I wrote this script for you," and not give them any credit. It'd be great.
I've heard. Wow, my dogs are viciously trying to get in the room. Get out of here. Anyways, I've heard podcast researchers on true crime podcasts have to take breaks and even have mental breakdowns because
it's horrible.
Well, yeah, it's really gruesome, and especially when you go we don't even go into that much detail.
Right, that's the difference. So when you listen to things, you're just hearing. I mean, some detail is explained, but a lot of the nasty nitty gritty stuff that you read is just left out.
Exactly. Yeah. So to go into a month of research of that stuff and read all those details and then to sit there and write that week after week after week. That's
a lot.
Yeah. People are awful. That's what I've learned, which I've known, but they're really awful.
That's all I listen to at work for 8 hours during my shift. I listen to true crime podcasts and things, and then I go home and I'm ready to fight if somebody tries to kill me. I'm like, I don't know why I have this extreme fear of being murdered.
I know.
I just listen to murder all day for 40 hours a week.
Exactly. But do you know what? It keeps you on your toes. That's why I go around and I check all the locks in my house 10 times a night. Make sure all the windows are locked. Make sure the door's locked at least 30 times because you never know. That one time, I do not know how many times I've gone upstairs, all the way upstairs, and I've been like, I'm just going to check that door one more time. And I go downstairs, just recheck it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do a visual check by my door every time I walk by because I'm like, nope, especially when that man mumbled under his breath that other day.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No. So happy Halloween tomorrow.
Yes. Welcome to Your Queer Story. We're your host. I'm Evan Jones.
And I'm Paul Hobbs. And this is the podcast that inspires peace, love, and radicalism. I forgot it for 2 episodes, but I didn't forget it today.
He came back good, yes.
I'm hungover today, so all the memories are flooding back.
That's fun. But yeah, we're here. We're at the gay Christmas. And I will say that nothing makes me feel like I should lose my queer card more than Halloween. Because
you are horrible at Halloween.
I can't stand Halloween.
By the way, we were supposed to be recording in a costume today.
Yeah, we are. Remember it's Paul's pajamas.
Remember that thing I committed to and we never did, just like the other things? Here we are.
Don't remind our listeners. What? Are you kidding me?
They're like, I've been looking forward to that picture for the last 8 episodes.
We'll take a picture. We're gonna take a picture and post it anyways. Paul's in his pajamas because he was supposed to be here an hour ago, and I'm in my workout clothes because we were supposed to work out after this. So
Listen,
those are our costumes.
I had a lot of beer and vodka last night, and I'm doing my best.
It's true. You're doing the best we can, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, you know what? Actually, I have to come up with a costume for tonight. I don't have a fucking clue. No clue.
Just be a cowboy.
I might. I might. Last year, we went as Angela and Dwight from The Office, as any good millennial couple, and it was an easy costume because just found like some like we went to Savers or whatever.
You literally could just wear like work clothes.
Exactly. But the problem was it was a really cold night and the party was outside. So instead, I was wearing I had a yellow shirt and then I was wearing a zip up jacket over my costume, and this was when I first started really wearing my glasses. So everybody just thought I was Harry Potter. And it's like, whatever, fine, I'll be Harry Potter. I don't care.
They're like, why are you just Angela?
That's weird. And Samantha and I did not follow through with near the full commitment to our costumes that we talked about. Like when we talked about it, it got really funny. Like she was going to have a fake cat and everything. And then said it would just both look
literally
like
just wear clothes.
2 people wearing work clothes to that party. So that's how we do Halloween in my house.
Yeah, see, I'm dating a drag queen, so Halloween for me every year is pretty big. I was in an Oktoberfest lederhosen outfit last night.
Why didn't you just put that on this morning? Then you would have worn your costume.
I didn't think about it. Listen, I struggled this morning. I woke up and... did you ever watch SpongeBob, or were you not allowed? You were probably not
I
allowed.
watched it after I left the cult.
So did you ever see the episode where SpongeBob goes into Sandy's little dome thing and there's no water in there? And he's like, water!
Yeah.
Water! That's how I felt this morning. So you're lucky I'm here right now. Well, I should say we're both lucky I'm here right now. I'd be like, Evan, you got to do the podcast alone today.
I would have been like, I've already finished the episode. I assumed you weren't coming. Oh, God. Yeah, so we're talking about Halloween today. What's your favorite either Halloween party or horror, or what's something about this day that you love? Or this time of year?
I love the smell of Halloween, like the pumpkin candles, the autumn candles.
Yeah.
This is when all the really delicious food starts to come, the stews and the roasts and things.
Yeah.
I have a lot that I love about this time of year.
Yeah.
I love that on Halloween you can kind of just be whatever you want to be and be silly and have fun.
That's very queer of you. It's true.
What else? I love Halloween Town.
Yeah.
The movie series, and I also love The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I also love the weather, and I also love the clothes. I love fall is my favorite. This is when so most people start to get seasonal depression around now. I get seasonal depression in summer, and then fall comes, and I'm like, here I'm alive.
The death of life is what brings me to life.
Exactly.
There you go. I'm a pumpkin bitch. So whatever is pumpkin, I will eat. So this is a good time of year. Although with my diet,
I struggled all week and I didn't work out. So
we got to get you back in shape next week.
Monday is a new week.
Kick your butt. I had a fantastic workout.
Good for you. I had so much shit going on this week.
You were busy this week.
I was not just busy. I was like,
well, that's okay.
I didn't even know who I was anymore because it was just like going and going. This is going to be a long episode because I'm just going to go off on every tangent because I'm totally unfocused. But this whole week was just like one thing after another, and I was just like, where am I at right now?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's how life is. That's why you find a diet and exercise routine that works for you in real life.
And you don't kill yourself when you say, I had a really horrible fucking week.
Yeah, exactly.
Get back at it next week. That's it.
You just pick it back up. But yeah, my pumpkin stuff has been limited. So I'm drinking a pumpkin spice coffee for the first time in probably, maybe 3 weeks. I was like, I'm going to get through the whole fall and not be able to have another coffee. So I'm having one of those and a pumpkin donut. But otherwise, the only thing that I love, and I really suggest, and I've said it before, I love the book Frankenstein. It is a
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
book,
yeah.
and I think that so many queer people can relate to it. Not like being a monster, but being perceived. Like the demon isn't really a monster, but you're perceived that way.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the book Frankenstein. So, which I need to read it again. It's been a little while.
How
since I
long
read
is it? Like 500 pages or something crazy?
No, it's not. It's not. Like Dracula is a really long book, but Frankenstein is like about an average size book. So
I haven't read, so.
I mean, it's the real story of Frankenstein. So it's not the movie bullshit version.
Listen, the last book I read was The Hunger Games.
You would like
So,
Frankenstein.
I need,
It's
like, a
really
comparison.
good. I don't know. I can't compare it to anything because you don't read, Paul. What do you?
The Hunger Games. I already told you. That's your comparison. That's all you get.
It's action packed.
The Hunger Games is like this thick.
Okay, the Hunger Games is that thick.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, and they're that little. Okay, I would say that Frankenstein's about that size. I didn't know you were talking about size. I thought you were like telling me to compare themes. I'm like, I don't know what.
That's why I said, how long is it?
I said an average size of a fucking book.
I don't know what an average book
I
is.
would say I don't. You want me to go look right now? Because I'll go grab my fucking copy.
No, we don't got time. We're not even talking about Halloween right now.
I was gonna say it's probably about 150 pages, maybe
that's
200
easy.
at most.
That's not bad.
No, that's what I mean. It's really not that long. Anyways, okay, but yeah, that's what I love about this.
Actually, I read The Hunger Games on my phone, so I don't even know how thick the Kindle thing.
Yes,
I
how do
don't
you
even know
know?
how thick the book is.
You just guessing.
Yup.
You probably read like a 300-page book. I feel like I don't know. You know what? I know nothing about that. So those books. So whatever. Yeah, but let's jump into the script.
So today we're back to celebrate the biggest holiday in the queer world, a revered.
Revered.
This is gonna be a rough
I'm gonna
day.
slap you.
A revered and honored tradition that dates back nearly a century. The great gay holiday, as poet Judy Grahn once said, referring, of course, to Halloween. We hope, of course, that you all have laid out your stockings and makeup and hatchets and best blood-soaked nightgowns, and perhaps even drawn some inspiration from our episodes this past month. Hope you listened to my tips on how to make sure you actually kill somebody. Yes. Whatever your weekend plans, we hope they are devilishly delicious and stupendously gay. But before you don that clown mask, take a moment to enjoy the history of how our people made Halloween the second most popular holiday in America, rivaled only by Christmas. And who's to say we don't take
her first place spot.
And who's to say we don't take her first place spot next? And I love the way that Evan writes sometimes because it makes me sound so smart. And I'm like, that sounds beautiful and poetic.
It's all you, Paul.
It's all the delivery, right?
Yes, especially as you stumble over it.
How did
Revered. Thank you, though. I take your compliment and made it an insult. I'm good at that. Halloween was originally a blend of ancient Celtic tradition Samhain and the Roman festival Feralia, two separate cultural celebrations of the ancestors which reverence the dead. The Romans, yes, I know, my own stuff. The Romans also, the difference is you will cut out your stuff and you'll leave me stumbling over my phrases. Yep. Two separate cultural celebrations of the ancestors which reverence the dead. The Romans also added the celebration of the goddess Pomona, who represents fruits and trees, and thus we still have the various fruit aspects incorporated throughout fall and Halloween, and that's where they think we get bobbing from apples from because of the goddess Pomona. Pomona? I don't know. As with practically every holiday in history, the holiday was used as a tool of unity by the Romans over the newly conquered Celts. As the centuries passed on, the traditions and meanings behind the holiday evolved. By the 8th century, Pope Gregory III declared November 1st All Saints' Day, which turned the October 1st celebrations of Samhain and Feralia into the newly named All Hallows' Eve.
Dun dun dun. Fucking Pope.
The fucking Pope.
I almost was a Pope for Halloween this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I almost bought the costume. I thought it would be real funny.
Yeah, why not?
But then I was like, this could...
And then when people ask you, you can be like, I'm a child molester. And then you can really set the tone of the party.
Yeah, be that guy.
I was wearing blue at a Halloween party earlier this year, and because I had forgotten to wear an outfit. a costume, and I was gonna like put plastic on me and tell people that I was the ocean, but then I was like, that's just gonna really tank the whole mood.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be like,
It's like,
wow.
okay.
As time wore on, most of the Christian traditions and celebrations of Halloween began to fade, turning instead into a day of mischievousness and pranks. And for that reason, along with the superstition surrounding the ancient celebration, Halloween was virtually banned in the newly colonized American country. Halloween was virtually banned. That's horrible.
Yeah.
The Puritans would have none of this Celtic devil's holiday, and certainly did not want the Catholic version of the celebration. For the first 200 years of white settlers' invasion on America, All Hallows Eve was relatively dormant. Then, in the mid-1800s, America saw an uptick in Irish immigration due to the Potato Famine, devastating their homeland, which, the potatoes were actually growing. The potatoes actually grew. They were just being stolen from they were forced to give the potatoes away.
Forced to give them, what do you mean forced to give them away?
They were like, under, I want to say it was British control. Listen, I'm really bad with history, so this is probably all wrong. But I do know for a fact that the potatoes were growing. It wasn't like the ground was rotten. They were just being forced to give another country their potatoes.
They were being sold.
Yeah, so they basically were like being starved. Yeah, basically.
See, it's been a long time since I read about the potato famine, and when I was writing this, I was like, do I want to go off into that? And I was like, nah, I'll stay over
Why not
here.
give Paul something to talk about that he knows absolutely nothing about? Great idea. The deep Catholic and Celtic roots of the country had made it one of the few places that still practiced All Hallows Eve.
Ireland, not America.
Yeah. Ireland, by the way.
But no.
Missing their homeland and seeking comfort in their traditions, Irish communities began to celebrate Halloween. The parties were a mix of European and Celtic influences. Masks were worn as part of an ancient Celtic tradition of warding off ghosts. The Celts believed that spirits returned on All Hallows Eve to claim the souls of the living, but the masks confused the deadly spirits. During the parties, cakes were passed out as part of an Old English tradition, stemming from the similar British celebration of All Souls Day, when the rich would walk through the streets passing out cakes to the poor in exchange for the prayers of the poor for the wealthy family's ancestors, which, fuck them.
Right? Exactly. Like, oh, I'm sorry, are you starving? You want some cake? You just got to say a prayer for my family to remain in dominance for all of time. Here, have some cake. I'm a good person.
I also laced it with arsenic to clean up the streets.
Exactly, right. There's just too many of you poor people. We're going to get rid of you. But here you go, sweetheart. Also, where was I looking at? I love how superstitions evolve and how one day some people were sitting around like, I don't know what we're going to do about all these ghosts. They're coming here. I always do the Southern accent, and I'm sorry to our Southern friends. Let me see if I can do my Irish accent.
Oh, no.
Wait, no.
Wait,
Ireland.
when you did a horrible Russian or Australian accent, we started getting listeners in Australia. So maybe do that.
So I'm going to track the Irish. Give me a second. I'm doing this, okay? I need this for me. I have my own. Shit. Why does it run together, man?
It's just one word, like one letter altogether.
Whatever. The point is that they're sitting around and like some guy's like, oh, you know what you gotta do? We gotta get ourselves. We gotta scare away these ghosts. And someone's like, what if we wore a mask? And then we'll just like confuse them and they'll think we're ghosts and we'll just all be walking around in masks and nobody will know who the ghosts are. And someone thought that was like a legitimately good idea. So much so that 2,000 years later, we're wearing masks on Halloween to celebrate someone's ingenious idea to outsmart ghosts. And that's amazing.
That's basically what happened with religion.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the same exact story.
Exactly. What if we have like a celebration at the end of the year and we'll put up these trees and we'll give gifts to kids.
Remember that Jesus came out of the rock 3 days later.
And that'll remind people.
You got to make sure on every Easter that we have these bunnies.
Exactly. And they lay eggs.
Yeah. And they're the only bunnies that ever lay eggs, but they're special because they're Jesus's bunnies.
Right. Exactly.
I actually don't know what Easter is all about, but
it's about Jesus rising from the dead.
I know that, but I don't know where the bunnies come from and stuff like that.
Nobody knows because it was, again, just like Halloween, just like Christmas, it was a blend of culture celebrations. So you had all these weird things blending together, and then again, hundreds of years later, people are like, "Oh, you're gonna take Christ out of Christmas? Are you fucking kidding me? How dare you?" As if it was never. Like, not always about Christ.
Yeah.
Like, that was something incorporated later, again, all about bringing unity, which, again and again, people are like, how do we get these folks together? We have these people over here and these people over here. We'll just make them celebrate the same holiday And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here we are defending Christmas to the death, even though it has nothing to do with Jesus.
Nope.
Man, you just try to take a Christmas tree off of a Starbucks cup and see what happens to you.
I feel like we should go to the Colt in Indiana, and we should just walk down the street by them and be like, "Happy holidays, happy holidays," and see what happens.
Stand outside the church and say that, and see how many times you get punched in the face.
Oh, you'll get punched? You'll actually get assaulted?
There's a chance somebody would assault you. No, everybody's not going to run up and hit you, but somebody's going to get mad.
What if I do
enough.
it in a Satan costume?
Well, then you are really asking for it. I cannot promise anything at that point.
But I thought you had that game every year to get all your anger out, where you just charged each other and broke arms.
That was at us, not at other people. I will say, I hear that it's calmed down in the last how long have I been gone? In the past 8 years, but I don't know. I haven't been back.
I don't
there.
believe that with Trump. I'm sure that just fueled so much anger.
Well, here's how you get punched. You stand outside with a "fuck Trump" shirt and say "Happy Holidays" to everyone, and then you are definitely, I promise you will get assaulted. So if that's what you want for a good time in Indiana, you just go to FVC of Hammond, stand outside, and good luck to you.
Make a great show. Okay, where are we at?
We're right here. Okay, so this is my turn.
Okay.
So with the surge in costume dress-ups, suddenly this odd and relatively obscure holiday jumped into the mainstream public eye. Community celebrations and costume contests began to take place, which offered individuals one day a year to break a long-standing law, which on Halloween, people could cross-dress. There were several other reasons for the queer awakening that began to take place at the break of the 20th century, but the growing popularity of Halloween in America certainly helped struggling queers find their ways to one another. Of course, cross-dressing, even on Halloween, was a hard-won battle. The November 1st, 1912 publication of the local Pittsburgh newspaper carried a story of several men and women who had been arrested the previous evening for cross-dressing. However, just 2 years later, authorities were so overwhelmed by the amount of opposite-sex costumes that they announced they would no longer arrest cross-dressers on Halloween. Similar ordinances were passed in places and towns and communities across the United States, making Halloween a uniquely freeing holiday for queer people.
Yep. And can you imagine, not only in the queer community do people put on costumes of an opposite gender that they identify as. Is that the right way to say it? Yeah. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not trying to offend anybody.
Yeah.
And I see so many straight people being I'm just gonna, I'm being silly, right? They're like, here, I'm this big burly man, I'm gonna wear an Elsa costume because it's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and that's the whole point. Halloween, similar to drag, is just this outrageous expression of oneself. But if you're a queer person, and especially if you're a trans or gender nonconforming person, it's one day a year where you can actually be yourself.
Right, exactly.
And people are like, oh, you're so outrageous. And you're like, yeah, I am, right?
Right.
Please never let me take this off. But yeah, but it's true though that, obviously because straight cisgender people wanted to do it, we got to do it, but whatever,
It was still something that was good.
Yeah.
Another huge queer fad sweeping the country at this time were the drag balls of the 20s and 30s. Finney's Balls, as they were known, originated in the basement of a Michigan Avenue nightclub by a black queer Chicagoan named Alfred Finney. Finney hosted his first drag ball in 1935, and by the end of the decade, they were all the rage in the world of underground entertainment. Within 10 more years, male drag performers in mainstream nightclubs began to surface all over the U.S. However, most performers were straight, white men who hijacked drag and used it as a means to mock women rather than as the gender-defying art it truly is meant to be.
Yeah, I should have put a break here, but because there's a lot in that sentence. So first of all, as I was doing my research, there was an article that talked about the drag balls, and as I looked into more, I was like, this really contributed to the popularity in cross-dressing in certain spaces. And then when the drag really took off, like you said, if you watch any films or television shows of the 50s and 60s, drag is a huge part of it. But it was very much about mocking women, which I think is still an argument that we're having today. And we shouldn't be, but it's a misunderstanding of drag.
Right.
And
I think the people who are angry about drag today, and when I'm referring to actual the gender bending actual thing, I'm sure there are some assholes who still do it to mock, but I think they just have never maybe been to one.
Yeah,
Or, you know,
exactly.
they're like, maybe they grew up in a really conservative area. They've never actually gone out to a nightclub and seen a performance or even met a drag queen. So to them, maybe that's just this really horrible thing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Well, I remember
just a lack of knowledge.
I remember David explaining something to me early on where he was like, you know, people act like we're just men impersonating women, and we're like trying to reclaim, like, oh, men already have everything and now we're trying to be women. But he's like, I've never seen a woman look like me in drag. He's like,
Right.
this isn't, I'm not trying to impersonate women. It's a whole separate art
Right.
form. Yes, it has a very feminine aspect to it, but
Exactly.
femininity is
It's
not
the morphing
secluded
of
to
the
women.
face. It's the morphing of, it's becoming somebody else. It's
Exactly.
like the full transition, like, I mean,
You're
that's
becoming
not
a
the right word.
character.
The full transformation.
Yeah, exactly. One day we're gonna have the Trailer Park Girls on, and we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about the drag balls.
I always refer to drag as like, when people ask me, they're like, oh, is that weird for you to date a drag queen or things like that? I'm like, no. It would be just like dating a magician or a clown. Like they go, they
an
do their
actor.
Yeah, they go, they do their act, then the makeup comes off and they're their regular self. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you said, it's just a character, you know, and people enjoy it, and people have enjoyed it for centuries, which we're going to talk about in our next episode, by the way.
So despite the straight man hijacking drag and using it as a mockery, costumes and cross-dressing were becoming more popular and accepted in average day society, provided that drag costumes stayed in their place, meaning off the public streets and out of the public eye, especially not in church, unless it was Halloween at church. Then all bets were off. As blogger Donald Eckert once stated, there was still a lot of police harassment in the 1970s, and wearing drag in public was sometimes used as grounds for arrest. So, Halloween was the only day of the year that it was safe for a man to go out in public wearing a dress, or at least that it was accepted, this was the accepted wisdom.
Now, throughout the lavender scare of the 1950s and into the tumultuous 1960s, queer Halloween parties continued to thrive and evolve in their lavish costumes and wild parties. One of the biggest queer celebrations took part, not surprisingly, in San Francisco. The roots of the Polk Street parties can be traced all the way back to 1948 when a local merchant kicked off a costume party. In all honesty, the contest was really meant for children, but within just a few years, the gays had taken over the scene, which I find hilarious because that's literally what they did. It's like, we're going to have a costume party where everybody can come, everybody can dress up, the kids are going to love it, and then some gay man was like, hello, look at me, I spent 17 hours last night on this outfit, and you are going to give me that prize.
And he's the only adult with all the other children, and then next year
he's like shoving, he's like, move out of the way, Shannon.
Sally, get your ass over there. Then next year, there's like 3 more that joined because they saw the one gay guy doing it. And there's 2 children, 5 gay men.
Yep. And then finally people are like, all right, we're going to find
another
another
I don't think we should bring our
costume
child there anymore.
Basically exactly how it went. So by 1950, people knew the Polk Street costume celebration was a queer party. And though the celebration could not be advertised as a gay Halloween gathering, according to biographer and historian Randy Schultz, whose most notable work was the book And the Band Played On, one police chief told the queer organizers, "This is your night, you run it," which was said by the chief more as a surrender to the restrictions placed on police by Halloween ordinances rather than any form of acceptance or tolerance. It was often noted that right at the stroke of midnight, officers would come out in full force to arrest anyone still cross-dressed or considered any type of threat, which that's where a lot of your like Cinderella things, like at midnight I turn into a pumpkin, but like literally at midnight you had to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
This is also where the use of masks came heavily into play, as those who were able to elude police capture could feel safe that the officers had no idea what their perp looked like.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Some have also stated that this is where the extreme looks of drag evolved. In Halloween, A History of America's Darkest Holiday, author David J. Schall wrote, "A distinctly over-the-top drag aesthetics evolved since travesty drag didn't fool anybody. It couldn't be considered a legitimate attempt at identity fraud."
Which, if you remember from our Jose Julio Soria episode, he talked about how the people would do these extreme versions of drag, and then they would wear a sign that said "I'm a boy," because that way the police, because if they couldn't arrest you for being in costume, they could say you were trying. If you were looked too good, they could say you were trying to commit fraud.
Right. So that meant that officers couldn't further charge victims they did arrest as attempting to defraud people, a common added charge to drag queens and transgender women. Of course, another reason for the masks and makeup was general safety from being outed, whether by a scorned one-night party fling or by a reporter who had managed to sneak into the party. Naturally, the Halloween celebration was quite large and security could not be held as tightly as it was in most queer spaces of the time. Even with local restrictions temporarily lifted, patrons still put themselves at risk if they were exposed for being queer.
So for nearly 30 years, despite the dangers and the multiple laws against gay people fraternizing, gathering, or simply existing, and remember there were laws that said that gay people could not gather together. Mm-hmm. If you remember way back when we talked about the Daughters of Bilitis, we talked about that. The party on Polk Street raged every year despite this, but residents were becoming frustrated and angered by the increasing boldness of the gay party goers. With the Stonewall riots, the Compton cafeteria upset, and open pride marches happening around the country, by the 1970s, the Polk Street Halloween party had turned into an open defiance of the city's homophobia and abuse. And in 1976, things came to a head with California's repeal of the sodomy laws. Queer partygoers took this to mean that they were now free to express themselves, and the Polk Street's 1976 Halloween parade was packed full of every assortment on the LGBTQ alphabet. But this would be its final hurrah as police raided the event, setting off tear gas, dispersing the crowd, and arresting several members.
Resilient as ever, leaders in the community such as Jose Julio Soria and Harvey Milk began to organize events on the budding queer scene of Castro Street just a few blocks away. In 1979, almost 1 year after Milk's assassination, Castro Street was bursting with queer people wishing to celebrate what Harvey had worked so hard to accomplish. And in 1980, records show over 30,000 people at the Castro Street Parade and nighttime events. On the opposite side of the country, another gay Halloween party had erupted into a massive event. Starting in 1974, the Greenwich Village Halloween Pride Parade had grown from a few hundred people to over 200,000 in just 5 years. In fact, while the Pride marches of June were somber, political demonstrations, okay, it's because it was on a different page. In fact, while the Pride marches of June were somber political demonstrations, the typical Pride celebrations we enjoy today are rooted in the Halloween parades of the 1980s. The village's celebrations soon inspired similar Halloween parades in other parts of the country as well. And again, it was the nature of Halloween that allowed straight and cisgender people to put down their defenses for the night and enjoy queer art and expression.
Yeah, so Halloween was actually the original Pride parades. So you had marches, but you had the Pride parades were all on Halloween. So over the next 20 years, the gays dominated Halloween. As expected of the queer as acceptance of the queer community grew, more heterosexual people became involved in the Halloween celebrations. So much so that by 1995, the Castro Halloween parade had grown to 500,000 people, prompting the San Jose Mercury News to report, "It simply got too big for its britches. Although not all partygoers have bothered to wear them, part of the event's appeal has been its disdain for good taste and conventional modesty. The only dress code has been that imposed by the chilly night air."
Which I'm sure things, especially in the 80s and then like 95, I remember 90s fashion. I'm sure it was a lot of real tiny short jeans, jean shorts, and all kinds of fun colors.
Another good reason to move it to June, because someone was probably like, okay, but honestly, I love this. I do, but really, guys,
I just want to be out here in underwear only, and it's a little cold.
It's getting a little much for me. Unfortunately, along with the growth in attendance came an increase in violence and vandalism. Some brought on by the partygoers, and some brought on by homophobes looking for a fag to chase. By 2007, the Castro Street Halloween Parade had closed down as the city paid thousands of dollars to advertise the dangers of the parade, and more than 500 police officers patrolled the streets.
That's just looking for...
Right?
At that point, you're just like, get out there and get as many people on whatever you can.
Yep, literally.
However, the impact of queer culture on Halloween could not be erased. Today, Halloween is known as the gay Christmas, much to the ire of anti-queer activists. It is not surprising that some extremist right-wing groups despise Halloween, claiming it is due to its satanic roots, when in reality, their hatred of the queer community no doubt spurts these views. Individuals such as the former Jerry Falwell, who instituted the anti-Halloween tradition of hell houses.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't wear that white. Right, but yeah.
Meant as an evangelical alternative to haunted houses and queer pride parades. The hell houses take Christians on a journey of terror, as actors play out exactly how sinners will pay for their sins in hell. For example, the abortion room shows a botched abortion where supermarket meat is used to depict fetal tissue and blood squirts out of the mother's vagina. Another is the premarital sex room, which shows a prom queen becoming a prostitute after she gave it all away to her high school boyfriend. Gave it all away is an evangelical term for losing one's virginity. I don't think anybody was questioning that.
Sorry, I don't know what people say, okay? I don't know what you guys say in the real world. So maybe that's not a cult term.
And we don't have to really guess how they depict queer people. In one house, a lesbian commits suicide because she cannot stand her sin and she is literally dragged to hell. In the most common hell house experience, visitors gleefully watch an actor playing a gay man die from AIDS. Needless to say, this entire practice had drawn harsh criticism and even an official report by the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force.
Yeah.
Sure, that was great, but I'm sure there was no priests like child molester priests in there, like,
absolutely not.
Getting their dick chopped off or something.
No, it's very much so. We had a hell house. I'm trying to remember because I don't think our church put it on. It was a local church and we would advertise for them. My church did a really weird flip on Halloween. Like, they were actually really pro Halloween until about the early 2000s. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh shit, no, we can't be pro Halloween. And I think that's really honestly when the rhetoric that Halloween is a gay holiday was really coming in. When you read articles, they start talking about that in early 2000s, and all of a sudden churches are like, no, we can't do that. So we had a hell house, and it's like, it's just taking your so-called sin. Like, you lie and then you end up homeless on the streets. And like you said, the prom queen, she has premarital sex. So now she instantly turns to prostitution.
It's just like a switch.
Exactly. I wish there was one near us, which of course would never get any kind of going.
Oh, I would go.
Island, but
I would go and watch it as like a comedy.
That's what I was saying. I would love to go to one with you because I know you would be like on the floor laughing at this,
and everybody else would be like,
"How dare you?" But they do. But the whole point of it is they bring little kids in and it's to teach little kids not to sin. It's not to scare adults. It's about little kids,
right? And then as everybody's looking at me so angry, I laugh more because it gets uncomfortable.
Exactly, doing your famous like, sir, when you want to come outside, out back, and talk to us, and you're just like cracking up but also crying, like, help me.
Yeah, basically.
Literally. So yeah, but the bigger thing is they're very, very big, especially nowadays, about like they'll have radio advertisements that say, "Come watch the gay man die of AIDS." Like like to attract people. So they still go on, and there's a documentary in here too, which we'll leave at the end. But for all their attempts to rain on our parade, Halloween continues to be one of the most popular celebrations in the country, and it only continues to gain recognition as the great gay holiday. So don't let the bastards get you down. Celebrate and be as queer as you can this year. Your recommended resource is an activity this year. If you live near New York, check out the 46th Annual Halloween Parade at 7 p.m. on Thursday night. That's the parade started by queer people, the original Gay Pride Parade, not the Gay Pride March, but Gay Pride Parade. And if you don't live near the Big Apple, try another local parade or even your favorite gay bar. But for those of you who want to stay in for the evening, may we recommend the book Death Makes a Holiday by David J. Skell, or perhaps the documentary Hell House, available on Amazon. Make sure you get the 2002 Evangelical documentary, or any of the other sources we've dropped this past month. Whatever you do, make sure it honors our queer roots.
Be super queer. Live your truest life.
Yes.
Have a lot of fun. If you like candy, eat a lot of candy. It goes on sale like November 1st, so you can stock up in 2 days.
Yep. Be safe.
Be safe. Yes, be smart.
Watch your drink, wear a condom.
Yes, all the things that you need to do. Make sure you have your If I Go Missing file saved.
What the fuck is that?
If you go missing, you want all of your information so people can find you.
Well, how is that? What does that mean?
Like your bank account logins, your credit card logins, your cell phone login,
So they can look it up and
Yeah.
track you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, look at
I
you.
should probably get a little checked. Maybe they're like, get a little paranoid, Paul. But let me tell you, if something ever happens to me,
There we go. And if doesn't, I'll just go into your computer and open all your files and take your money. So that works
there you
too.
go. That's true. But anyways, where was I going with this? Halloween
Yes.
is a time of wow. What was that?
What does that say? What does it say? Is it a security alert?
Yeah.
Ah.
Because Evan hasn't updated his security in 3 months. If you're looking for a computer to hack, but just have fun, be yourself, enjoy your holiday, and as we move towards the holiday season, if you don't have somebody to celebrate with, reach out to us. Can't be there in
Exactly.
person, but we'll talk to you. We'll chit chat, and
Absolutely.
if you have any questions or need some advice, you can ask us. We give the best advice.
Yep. We give some advice. But
most advice comes from Evan, and if you're looking for conversation, you can talk to me.
we also have a blog on our, which will be shared, but a blog article called Homo So Alono about getting through the holidays. And we have a video. It's on our YouTube and it's on our Patreon, which if you're a Patreon, you can join for as low as, how low is it?
I think it's $1 is the lowest.
Yeah.
And honestly, we haven't been as active on it as I would like. We haven't really been active on it at all. But we've both been incredibly busy. And so everybody who has remained a patron, thank you.
Yeah.
Because your continuing contributions are what make the podcast possible. It's how we pay for hosting. It's how we pay for anything we need. We're currently saving money right now because we're going to try to expand into some marketing. And we're kind of looking at doing like a mini Pride tour this coming June.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of things, and,
yeah.
and Patreon really helps us with that. And we're trying to put some more content up there. But there are some older videos if you want to go watch them. There's the blog, and we stay very active during the holidays. Our scripts get a little shorter, and sometimes they're a little looser, but we do stay active, so you don't have to worry about us disappearing and not being here. We may take a week or two off. So, like for instance, the week of the 12th, we won't have an episode, or the 13th, we won't have an episode. But otherwise,
maybe I'll get excited and drop something.
Maybe he will. That would be
probably
great.
not, but it's a possibility.
But other than a week or two off here and there, we stay consistent through the holidays. So we're here, and we're queer, and message us.
Call us.
Write us a
Evan's
letter.
phone number is.
Write us a letter.
And reach out to us with any recommendations or questions or anything. If that's it. That's it. Stay queer.
Don't get a lobotomy.
We love you, our little allied hookers.
You little succulent sapphis.
And our proud homocrats.
And our allied hookers. Did you say allied hookers?
I don't know. I'm hungover.
What?
And have a spooktacular Halloween-themed sodomy circus.
Yes.
Bye.